So welcome everybody to this month's We Win meeting. We're all about women succeeding in real estate investing. And I have a guest for you tonight who happens to be a friend. She's in Nashville. She was in my probate group. She's one of the first people that went through the probates with us. I mean, she does so many things. Cindy Maxson has been an investor for 10 years. And she started out by purchasing single family homes, I think 5 foreclosures, and renting them out. She's completed over a dozen flips, 2 new construction projects. In 2016, she purchased a vacant rundown boarding house in Nashville. And then they gutted it and turned it into their personal home with the second story used as a short-term vacation rental called Chateau on Monroe. And I have to tell you, it's drop dead beautiful. I'll put a link in there if I didn't already do that, so you can go look at it. They hosted over 100 events before COVID shut them down. This past year, she's done a big pivot. She's gotten her real estate license. She's built her first tiny home in the mountains that she is doing Airbnb on. And she has 7 adult children and 2 grandchildren in her spare time. She did that. So welcome, Cindy.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you for having me on. That was a trip down memory lane for sure.
Well, it was. And, I've been talking a lot about people say, oh, I've got this baby, and I'll go, nope. I want to hear it. Because I know all these people that have 5, 6, 7 kids, and they've done this. And, but the thing that I really wanted to talk about tonight, where people are, they're kind of stuck, and they're stuck because their strategy isn't working. They're stuck because whatever they were doing, they can't do anymore. And for us, that's kind of been probates because, the courts were closed. We couldn't get any leads. So I know that you did a pivot. You started doing, you got your license for one thing to add another stream. And then you've built your first tiny home, which is cute as a button, by the way. Anybody want to escape to the mountains? You should rent Cindy's little tiny home. Did you get a chance to look at it on the online stuff? It's cute. So let's see here. I think somebody else wants in. Okay, so Cindy, at this point, I'm just going to turn it over to you, and I'll mute myself unless you need me to talk for some reason. But it's all yours, Cindy.
Thank you very much. I can talk all night long, all by myself. That's the one thing I don't need help with. So yeah, Sharon wanted me to come on and talk about pivoting. And boy, we live in an environment where that's kind of a necessity these days. So I've pivoted, changed directions, whatever you want to call it, in a couple of different ways. The first one is out of necessity. So you guys know COVID's kind of changed our whole world. And we may never get back to the normal that we knew before it hit. So I had to face some hard decisions. What am I going to do about it? My first choice was, I can hunker down, I can cower in fear, and I can wait for things to get better. And initially, when COVID first hit, that wasn't a bad strategy because nobody knew what was going to happen and all of that. But the day came when I had to ask myself, seriously, okay, things aren't changing and things have shut down. And what am I going to do? So I made a choice to be proactive, and I started to look for silver linings in this whole, fiasco. So I decided I was going to write my own comeback story and just show up every day, do the work, and hope for the best. So that's what I did. And, our Airbnb, Chateau Monroe, the big one here in Nashville, that was our sole source of steady income. And when COVID hit, we lost $40,000 in bookings for 2020. And that was just what we had on the books. There would have, should have, could have been way more than that to come. So, I just started thinking about what can I do, to replace this income. And I fortunately, I was able to fall back on the fact that I got my real estate license a year ago. So I started working as a real estate agent, and that gave me a measure of success. And then I tackled the problem of, what are we going to do about upstairs? And again, some of the seeds for this pivot were set last year because we got the tiny home under contract. Actually, just a small correction, we didn't build it, we bought it. We actually bought the model home in that development. So we closed on the tiny home on March 18th, right? Like the week after COVID hit. And we put it on the rental program. First of all, we could have put it on sooner. We had a long-term renter in there, but we got control of it around the 1st of June, but we couldn't stop using it ourselves because it is such a beautiful property. And it turns out that development up on the mountain, the way the developer, he's a true visionary, and the way he constructed that development, turns out that people can go there, they can social distance in a totally natural setting to their heart's desire. And it's just a fantastic way to get out of the city, for us personally, to get out of the city, get away from all the madness, and just breathe a sigh of relief and kind of reconnect with nature. So that really turned out well. And then in the meantime, I also got another project going. We're building a home on the lake in that same area on Timms Ford Lake. And as soon as that home gets finished, construction is completed, we're going to do the exact same thing with it. We're going to put it on the in-house rental program down there, and we don't have to touch it. Unlike Chateau and Monroe here in Nashville, we don't have to do anything with the tiny home or the lake home. So those two properties have allowed me to generate some cash flow. So far, the tiny home is cash flowing. It's paying for itself, and there's some left over. And then, also it's a way for me to build wealth as opposed to income. So it's something that I can have to pass along to my children someday, hopefully. So another pivot that I may be making here in Nashville is, I was just talking to Sharon about this morning. The legislature here has an ordinance up for discussion and debate that may very well shut down all vacation rentals in Germantown, which is just a couple of blocks down away from us. And that will apply to both non-owner occupied and owner occupied. We're an owner occupied short-term vacation rental. So if that legislation were to pass in the future, then I'll have to pivot again. And the plan is, I'm already doing the research. The plan is to either turn that into a long-term rental or sell it all and move out of the city. So that's how I am and have pivoted kind of out of necessity. The other way that I've pivoted is on purpose. So as I discover things that give me joy, that I'm really passionate about, that give me energy, as opposed to what drains my energy, I make the choice to change direction and pivot, to go more in the direction of my own personal wants, needs, and desires. So as an investor, I've gone from rentals to flips to new construction to short-term vacation rentals and to probates. Then as a probate investor, I pivoted from that into getting my license. And that was because of Sharon. That was her suggestion. I still remember the Zoom call that we were on where she said, "Cindy, why don't you get your license?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." So, a few months later I had it, and I didn't do anything with it at first. That was last November, but it sure has come in handy now that we're going through all of this mess with COVID and Chateau and Monroe. So I went from, and I'm in the process of moving from being just a general agent, real estate agent, into specializing. I'm niching down. Last spring, I got certified. I took a few classes. It's pretty easy real estate classes, and I got certified as a senior real estate specialist. So my plan going forward is to transition into a specialty as an agent that will allow me to continue to connect and market to those probates, as well as just the general situation that I have to say this, we seniors, because I'm one of them, I'm a baby boomer, you know, the situations that we find ourselves moving into and through with making those life transitions as we get older and as our parents age, you know. So I'm trying to position myself to move into that specialty in the future. Marketing, I started out with direct mail to probates, thanks to Sharon. And then when I got my license and I started checking around, I decided that I was going to focus on inbound marketing, because I hate getting those calls and those messages saying, you know, my probate house is none of your business. You know, where did you find me? What do you know, but they're not happy people when they do that. And I don't like it. So what I decided to do was focus on social media marketing. So I've got my website. It's not completed, but it's getting pretty close. And then I've also worked, thanks to Sharon again, to her suggestion, I've worked at outsourcing wherever possible, the things that either I don't like to do, or I'm not good at, or, you know, I just got too much on my plate. So that is freeing me. That is wonderful, by the way. I highly recommend it. If you can outsource, please do it, because that frees me up to do the things that only I can do. This is one of them. I can't hire somebody to come on this Zoom call and talk to you guys. And I wouldn't want to, because that's what I really love. So, you know, outsourcing has helped me move more in the direction of doing the things that I love and the things that only I can do. Then as far as like sources for leads, I have pivoted there. I started with just probate leads. And then I hired a VA to pull those for me. And I'm kind of transitioning now. I'm adding. This is not so much a transition as an add to those probate leads. I'm adding a list of short-term vacation rental owners here in Nashville, especially those out of town, because they're probably just like me. They're in a crunch. Their property is not bringing in the money that they thought it was going to, and everything has come to a screeching halt. So what that tells me is, like me, they might be thinking about selling. So I was scouting around on the internet one day, and I managed to come across a list on the Nashville Metro website, the government website. They actually have a list of everybody who has a permit in Nashville, and they have their addresses and their phone number. So I managed to download that. So I'm adding that to my marketing, as a source for those leads. So I'm going to market to those guys. And then my big plan, and this is a work in progress, is to ramp up those inbound organic leads that come through social media marketing. They come through SEO, my website. And my goal is to become the digital mayor of my little neighborhood here in Nashville on social media, and post good and valuable content so that people want to contact me rather than me having to chase them down. So that's kind of an overview of how I've pivoted and in what direction I've pivoted. And I thought I would share with you briefly some of the tools that I have used to help me pivot. The first one, and maybe the most important, is the internet. You know, with the internet, I can have the world at my fingertips. I can learn whatever I need to learn to go in a new direction. I can stand on the shoulders of giants like Sharon Vormholt, and I can learn from other people. I can learn from mentors, and so much of this I've found is free. I don't necessarily have to spend a bunch of money. You know, just get on the internet and research all day, every day. That's kind of the bulk of what I do on a normal day. The other tool that I've used is networking. I'm a huge believer in networking. I love to do it because I'm a very social person, so it comes naturally to me. But when I look back, you know, without me getting out there and networking with other people, other investors, other agents, I made a little list of things I would not have if I hadn't networked. I would not have this house here in Nashville that I'm standing in right now. I got it through networking with another real estate investor. It started with a really simple conversation. So what do you do? And I said, well, you know, I'm an investor, but I'm looking for a house. I want a house in Nashville. And he said, well, you know, I know a guy who's got this old rundown house and he might be looking to sell. And long story short, that's how I acquired our house here. And that's what led to the renovation and the STRP and all of that came about because of just a simple networking conversation. I would not have discovered tiny homes. I would not have my lake home. I would not have secured financing without networking. I hooked up with a realtor just as a friend down the street. And through that conversation, he told me about a realtor in Chattanooga. I hooked up with him, and that has been a fantastic partnership. And that realtor hooked me up with Marcia Easter, who is a banker in Chattanooga, because I was having trouble securing financing for what I wanted to do. These banks, especially these days, they are very hesitant to lend money to people like me who do not have steady income. So because of Marcia, I was able to get a business line of credit secured by our home here. And that allowed me to move forward with these other projects. Without networking, I would not have my rock star real estate agent partner. Her name is Allison Reeves, and I hooked up with her. I think it was through a networking meeting back when we were having physical meetings. So, I mean, when I think about the power of networking in my life and how it's helped me, it's just incredible. Another tool I use is called a swipe file. If you don't know what that is, it's when you see a great idea that somebody else has and you swipe it. I don't plagiarize, I make it my own, and you know, I'll reword things, but that idea, I love to borrow ideas from other people. I have both a physical swipe file, and it's full of, like, when another realtor sends me his, you know, really cool looking postcard, I just stick it in that swipe file and it's waiting there for the day when I get ready to send out my own postcards. You know, I can go from stuck and stressed out with little or no ideas in my head, and then I'll come upon something online and it will just help me have a breakthrough. So it's really important to save those things, those valuable ideas that I find, you know, in and around me for use whenever, sometime in the future. Another tool that I keep saying this, but this really may be the most important one, is my mindset. I always keep in mind the big picture and the why. So the big picture is my plan and the why is my motivation. I try to keep things around me that remind me of how grateful I should be. And I don't allow myself to make excuses or play the victim. Now, that sounds wonderful, but let me tell you this, I'm tempted to do that every day. It's really easy to make excuses, and I can come up with hundreds of them that would allow me to kind of just stop what I'm doing and go sit on the couch and watch Netflix and eat bonbons. So, you know, I really have to remind myself. I can recognize now when in my mind I start to make an excuse, and I just try to cut that off immediately. Again, I try to surround myself with positive affirmations. That's really important to me. So you can see a few of them behind me. Those 3 young men are 3 of my 5 sons, and they're current or former military. And when I look at those pictures, it warms my heart. And I have pictures of my kids and my grandkids all around. That really helps me because this is my space. This is my office. I spend the vast majority of every working day right in here. So it's really important that I put things in here that remind me. One of the things, I found this little jewel at Walmart for like, I don't know, 12 bucks. And it just says, today I choose joy. And that helps remind me that I can choose to be joyful no matter what's going on. And especially when things go south, that's hugely important. I have sayings over here on the wall that you can't see, but one of them is, someone else is happy with less than what you have. And it just reminds me that, again, you know, I need to be grateful every day. I need to have that attitude of gratitude as much as possible. I have scriptures that point me back to true north when I stray. Let's just put it that way. You know, when I have had setbacks and I've had to pivot, and that means change and learning new stuff, you know, a lot of times those excuses start up. And I came across a saying one time, and it said, I don't know how to, and you can fill in the blank with whatever. I don't know how to blank, but I'm not too stupid to learn. So I have to remind myself, you know, okay, I might not know how to do this, but I'm not too stupid to learn. So that helps me. All of these things, you know, help my mindset because it's so important. Little sayings like, be a lifetime learner, start before you're ready, fail forward, and progress, not perfection. That's a big one for me because I am a perfectionist. I drive myself absolutely bonkers sometimes and waste so much time. So, you know, I'm always telling myself, Cindy, progress, not perfection. Stop. It's good enough. Done is better than perfect, and it almost always is. The other thing I do to help my mindset is I read good books. So in that regard, I have a couple to share with you. This one has changed my life. It's called The War of Art. Not The Art of War. There's a classic book called The Art of War. This one's The War of Art, and it's written by Stephen Pressfield. The subtitle is Break Through the Blocks and Win Your Inner Creative Battles. It's really hard to describe what this book is about, but I can tell you it changed my life. It really did. He goes into, there's this kind of a spiritual component to it, and he goes into the idea that there is a force in the universe called resistance, and it is what stops us from being what we were created to be, from doing what we were created to do, whatever that may be. You know, he happens to be an author, so for him, it's writing that book that he knows he's supposed to do. For me, it's, you know, taking my business in the direction that I know it's supposed to go. And he really goes into resistance as resistance is anything that stops you from doing that. So it could be making an excuse, going to sit on the couch and watch Netflix. It could be, you know, a family member that says, you know, this looks kind of risky. I don't know that you should be doing that. I mean, it comes in so many forms, and I just have learned to recognize it. And I have learned that, you know, I am best served by understanding that resistance is there, and I have to battle it every single day. So I highly recommend this book. The other one is Donald Miller's Building a Story Brand. This one is awesome. Donald Miller is just phenomenal. the book is awesome, but Donald Miller has a YouTube, he's got several YouTube channels, and there is just a wealth of good free information on there. As if and as you're working through building your business, or wanting to really keep things simple and on message, so that your customers understand what it is you do, what it is we do. So that's another thing that I use to help with my mindset. And then the last tool that has served me so well in pivoting is failure. Pivoting is not failure. I have failed in so many ways. As a matter of fact, Sharon, I will volunteer to do a really good seminar on failure, because I feel like I'm an expert at it. But failure is, I really only fail if I quit. And that's what I've learned. I don't quit. I just pivot into something else. Most of my best lessons have come from failures. Most of my breakthroughs have come on the heels of a breakdown. If that makes sense. It's been when I've just like, this stopped working, this isn't working, I hate this, and I have a breakdown, and I have a nice pity party with a glass of wine, and then the next day I get up and I keep working, and I don't quit. And that's when the breakthroughs have come for me. So failure has been an incredible teacher. I almost want to say I could embrace failure, but no, not really. So that's it. That's the crux of what I have, I guess, and a little bit of my story. So Sharon, I'll stop there. And
Well, that's the thing we went through. I wanted everybody to really talk about the pivot, or to hear about the pivot, because so many people are stuck. But let's kind of segue into tiny homes. People are so interested in tiny homes. And I know we've got a couple of questions. We'll get to those, but from an investment perspective, let's talk about the numbers and, why would you buy them? Do you think they'll always be as popular as they are? Let's go down that path.
Yeah. The answer to that question is I really don't know. And that is a concern. So what I do on a fairly regular basis is I just check to see, how saturated are those developments getting? Because out there on the mountain where, my tiny home is, that whole concept has been so phenomenally successful that the development that we own our home in, that was 52 lots, and they sold out immediately, and everybody loves them. The tiny homes, by the way, that they do are actually, you get online and you order them from Clayton Mobile Homes, believe it or not. So they're actually a mobile home, but by the time the development gets through with them, you would know it. I mean, they don't feel like a tiny home. Clayton does a really good job. It's a solid company. It's a division of Berkshire Hathaway. So they've really upped their game as far as not making it look like a mobile home. You don't feel like you're living in a trailer. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Okay. True confession, I forgot what you asked.
We're talking about tiny homes. So I think the question for a lot of people is, are they going to always be as popular? But my thinking of that is they're not going to become unpopular anytime soon, because even after, who can predict 10 years down the road? But when you look at a hotel room, I was looking at the prices of your on the line, and you can take a family, like I looked at yours, so you have a bedroom, then you have a loft with 2 queen beds up there. So a family with children could very affordably, much more affordably, go in stay in a tiny home than they could in a hotel.
Yes.
Because you can prepare food, the kids can run around outside.
Yes.
And for a couple, if they just want a little getaway to totally unplug, although I see that you have Wi-Fi there.
We have high-speed internet. That's another
Yeah.
thing we did that was really good.
So, but I guess the question is, from an investment perspective, what can you expect to pay? We'll talk Nashville numbers because, well, and you're between, that is between Nashville and Chattanooga. So first of all, how does that affect the prices?
Well, I have no problem sharing my specific numbers. So we bought our property, we bought the model home, so there was already a tiny home on there. We bought it for $170,000. Now, our lot, one of the things that attracted us was that lot perks for 2 bedrooms. So we have the option in the future of putting a second tiny home on there without paying for another lot and without doubling our HOA fee. So that's what really attracted us. So for that $170,000, and I have a calculator where I plug in all those numbers. I plug in the purchase price, I plug in the interest rate, down payment, all the expenses, and that really helps me understand how much income we have to have per month in order for the tiny home to pay for itself. That's always critical. That you guys know that you live and die by your numbers. So we were able to determine that we need $1,000 income every month in order to cover that month's expenses. And so far for August, we took in $1,600. For September, it was $1,400. October is going to be $1,000. Well, actually 2,000. So November is going to be another 1,400. So you can see that cash flow building up. So what I'm doing in an ongoing fashion to make sure that this is not just a flash in the pan is I'm watching those bookings. So we are booked out now until January, and we have several bookings on into 2021. We actually have one in September of next year. So as long as those bookings stay strong, that we'll just keep on doing what we're doing. If I start to see a downturn in that, I'll step back and reevaluate. And my goal is, if I start to see things get to the point where I'm not comfortable with the risk anymore, then I want to be able to sell it ahead of time before the tidal wave of sales comes, when other owners are doing the same thing.
So that's net cash flow you're talking about after everything?
Yes. Now those numbers I threw out, you got to do a little bit of math. So in August, we pulled in a net of $1,600. So it takes $1,000 to pay for the tiny home. So we cash flowed $600. I hope I didn't confuse you.
So that was you got a gross of 1,600. So your net cash flow was 600.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So 400 to 600 a month cash flow in Louisville, Kentucky, even, is really good cash flow after everything else. That's like Chicago numbers, because their rents are higher.
So I remembered where I was going before. After they built the first tiny home development of 52 lots, the same developer went down the road. They bought another piece of land, bigger, on a lake, and they divided that into 160 lots. Those lots sold out within 2 weeks of them having the big land sale marketing push. So that was just an incredible success. And that development is under construction as we speak. They've got the underground utilities in place. They've got dozens of tiny homes already on their foundation and ready to be lived in. And then if you go there, you'll see tiny homes, because they pull them in on trailers. You'll see these tiny homes just lined up down the road, and they're just waiting for that developer to get their lot ready so they can, install the tiny home. So then that was so successful. Now their latest 2 new developments are something called Sunset Bluffs. It's only about 5 minutes down the road from us. And that's 70 lots. And then they have another one called Water's Edge phase 2, which is the land, they bought the land across the lake from where the original water's edge was. And that's going to be about 30 lots. So, what I'm looking at is our rental going to be diluted as other owners come online with their homes and put their homes on the rental market? Are we going to get to a point where we get saturated? And that's a definite possibility. And that's what I look at. That's why I said it's really important to look at those numbers, look at those bookings. How far out are they? How are they still strong? So, that's just something that is ongoing that I'm going to keep an eye on to make sure that, like I said, if the time comes to sell, we sell before other people.
Yeah. So Mary was wondering, are the tiny homes considered personal property or real property? So we know mobile homes you sell at the county clerk's office, but
Yes.
these are attached to the foundation. So are
Yes.
they technically real property?
Don't quote me on this, but I think they're technically real property. The minute they put them on that permanent foundation, they're strapped down with hurricane straps, so they're not ever going anywhere, and they're on a block foundation. So I think they're real property.
So you get property taxes?
Yes.
Okay. Tamara's back to shaking her head. So yeah, I think we're in agreement on that. So Mary had another question. Let's see here. This is kind of unrelated. What are your top podcasts that you like to listen to? Other than mine.
Other than Sharon's. Oh man, now I'm drawing a total blank.
Well, I'll let you think about that one a minute.
Yeah, I know a good one. It's Trevor Mock with Carrot. I love his podcasts. I could only have time for his if I listened to all of them. So that's
okay.
One I remember.
So I think the name's cut off. I guess it's Linda. What size is the lot? So I guess that's two questions. What size would a lot for one be, and what size? Yours is obviously bigger.
Yes, the lots are just the developer, he kind of surveyed it off as best he could. Some are smaller. I would say the average is about 1/3 to a 1/2 acre.
But you're in a mountain area. So
yes, we're in a mountain area. And what he did very well is he went in with the idea that they were not going to cut down trees unless absolutely necessary in order to get these tiny homes installed on that property. So what that has resulted in is just this wonderful, you really kind of feel like you're out in the woods kind of by yourself. You can see the other tiny homes, you can see the little party lights, off in the distance, but there really is a feeling of solitude, in those tiny homes. Now our lot is bigger, and that's one of the reasons that we went for that one. It's 1.7 acres, and the developer, he bought every time he does this, he tries to buy a property that has special features. So in our case, it's got a creek. So our lot backs up to this wonderful, just think of the most pleasant, babbling mountain stream. And that's what we back up to. It also has a waterfall. So he put in hiking trails all the way around the entire development. And he put in community fire pits. He put in a community picnic, a big picnic area. He put in a playground for the kids. And he did it right. He really did.
So Renee says she thinks they're only going to continue to grow in popularity as the population continues to grow. And she's right. The trend has been growing as a solution to a variety of societal challenges.
Yes. The tiny home, it is a movement, which means it could go away, but I don't see any signs of that in any time in the near future. And by that, I mean 5 years or even more. First of all, they appeal to anyone who has like a minimalist, environmentalist mentality. Millennials love these things. Mm-hmm. And then of course, with the advent of COVID, that just put it on steroids. because we see people, and we talk to people when we're up there. We've talked to so many people who are there, for a day or two, and they just gush about how quiet it is, how they are so relieved to be away from, all the never ending, the news, the election, the COVID news, all that stuff that just kind of drives us all crazy. So, they have, as of right now, they have a very broad appeal. And the thing that I love about our tiny home is what makes it so special is that developer, part of your package is they will put a deck, and they will put landscaping. So when you get possession of that tiny home, it is turnkey, totally ready to go. Now, we went out and we paid to have a covering put on our deck, and that has made a huge difference. We were fine because we're in the shade, we didn't have any problem with the sun or anything like that. But the weekend we went up there and it rained for 2 days straight, like poured down, and we were kind of stuck inside the tiny home, and it's 395 square feet. So they make it look as big as they possibly can, but at the end of the day, when it's pouring down rain outside, it's pretty compact. So after that, we decided to cover our porch, and that has made just a huge difference. So we can go out there no matter what the weather and sit outside, because the outdoor, that forest area is really part of the magic of this development.
Mm-hmm. Well, Steph said that they try to run a cabin 2 or 3 times a year, but they always have a hot tub. She said she noticed that they don't seem to have hot tubs in your development.
I don't think you can have a hot tub. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. And I think it's probably maybe a bit of a liability issue. I don't know, but you're right. I haven't seen any hot tubs, and they sent the covenants and restrictions over when we bought it, but I skimmed it and didn't really go into a lot of detail. But it's probably in there that you can't have fences, but it's a gated community, which makes it really special too. It gives those parents a real sense of security with their kids. They can kind of let their kids loose, not completely, but we love it. We go up there and we'll see these trails of kids coming through on their bicycles, and they're just having a blast.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, I can see that. So Mary also wanted to know, was 170,000, was that all in the land plus the home?
That was all in.
And I see Mary walked away, so Mary will have to see this. So Young Grace says, thanks for sharing. How are the values, the comps of tiny homes decided? Yeah, that is a thing, because there's not a lot of history on tiny homes.
Correct. Real estate, like politics, is local. So, what Chip, the developer, has done is he's worked really hard to get those comps, keep those comps high. And it's easy to comp the tiny homes within the development. It's much more difficult when you have a standalone tiny home, that you've built or put in yourself, and you're trying to comp it with other properties, because it's usually out in a rural setting, and that makes it much more difficult to do comps to begin with. So within the development, though, it's been good. And I can say that, we have watched, first of all, the minute, it's rare, but the minute one of those things comes on the retail market, the MLS, they're gone. Like I got word yesterday, I saw a Facebook post on the property owner's Facebook page that somebody wanted to sell their lot by owner. I reached out to him immediately. Like within 10 minutes of that post, and he already had it under contract, because my daughter's interested. So.
Wow. So do you outsource the cleaning in between bookings, or how do you handle that? Do you have a service, or how does that work?
Well, we started out with big Chateau on Monroe, and by the way, we sleep 12 up there, sometimes 14. I think our record is 16. And we've got 8 beds. So it's a massive cleaning job. we started out doing it ourselves. It would take me by myself at least 4 hours, maybe 5 or 6. And then I got my husband in on the job, and he chipped in and helped me. But still, it after you've cleaned the same toilet, a couple dozen times, it gets really old. So we hired a cleaning lady, and that was transformational. We outsourced the cleaning to somebody else. And, that makes it very manageable. It's still a lot of work when you self-manage a rental property. Because we self-manage Chateau and Monroe, which means we do all the communications, we keep all the calendars synchronized, we just you have to check and double check, and communications is huge. We send out an initial welcome message, followed by a text message, followed by a welcome email, followed by a list of recommended venues and how to run everything, So we send out tons of communication every time we get a booking. So that takes, that takes a lot of time, but that was our system to outsource the cleaning and do everything else ourselves. Then we got the tiny home, and the tiny home communities have an in-house rental management program where for 20% of every booking, they will do everything. So it was hard to let go of that control, but there's no way we could be driving down there and doing that ourselves. So we had that idea to put it on the rental program from the get-go. And I have to say it has been a phenomenal success. And now that I have a taste of how easy that is, for us, it is well worth the 20% management fee to have them do literally everything. I mean, they put it up on Airbnb, VRBO. They have their own website that they put it on. Now we had to pay for pictures, but once the pictures come in, they upload the pictures and the description, and then from there, we never know, that somebody has checked out or checked back in. They just handle everything, and I love it.
So I'm back to, say I keep going back to the cash flow thing. So that 20% is in the expenses.
Is in the expenses.
Okay. Yeah. So if
when I say we need $1,000 in any given month to cover all our expenses, I'm talking all our expenses.
Your payments
mortgage,
and everything.
Taxes, insurance, the management fee, the electric bill, the internet, cable, whatever, all of that is included. So that's our baseline. Anything above that $1,000 is pure profit.
Yeah. So Renee was saying, who builds tiny homes in Kentucky? Her dad wanted to build one, but couldn't find a builder. So I don't know if you know the answer to this. I may know somebody that knows the answer, but so there's like the mobile homes where they put on foundations. But there's also like container homes, which are similar, but different, which I know Stevie Bear knows a lot about. But do you know if Clayton Home is in Kentucky? Or
I would guess that they are, and they will deliver pretty much anywhere.
Clayton is down here on Dixie. Sorry, it's right here off 40272, right after Dixie and the Snyder.
Okay, so you can tell how much I know about where they are. So if that's the case, then I would think, Renee, that you could build, you could get your home and they could have it built. Steph says mighty small homes in Portland.
Yeah, I mean, there have been a lot of people that we've talked to that, including us, that want to stick build. That's our second tiny home. If and when we get ready to put that out there, we want to build it from the ground up. And so just like everything else, I mean, it's an ongoing project to do that research. What we're finding is that in our particular case, because it is rural on top of the mountain and it's not heavily populated, it's very difficult to get those subs out there and general contractors. And now they're so busy stick building tiny homes in the big Water's Edge development that they've kind of hogged all the GCs and the subs. So, it's not easy. But that's a case where if you just keep checking and keep doing your research and keep talking to people and networking, there's a good chance that a solution will present itself.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that. So Grace wants to know, do we have any investors, developers in Kentucky? Developers of tiny homes, Grace, or just developers?
Yes, I was just want to know whether we have any like groups that are doing like what the developers are doing in Tennessee. Kind of like, do we have any areas that are developing tiny homes for investors or retail sales?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Yes,
Who said yes?
I did. There is, in fact, you can probably talk to Katie Krotzer and, oh gosh darn it. Yeah, if you know Katie Krotzer, talk to Katie Krotzer. She was trying to do a tiny home development for vets, specifically over here off of Manslick. And actually, Thieneman beat her to it. They were trying to get it, and Thieneman, honey, it's a whole thing. But Thieneman is trying to get the zoning passed so he can do the tiny home thing, but with vets right off here off of Manslick, off near my house.
Great idea.
Well, and Katie's got some down, don't they have down Taylorsville Lake? Don't they have some down there?
They have those. Those were built by another developer, and when he went bankrupt, they bought them all from the bank and or other sources. But yes, they're trying to actually build out a whole tiny home development specifically for the vets. But, yeah.
So you're saying we may have a problem here in Jefferson County and Louisville proper?
Yes,
Tamara?
with permits.
Why is that?
Because it's Jefferson County and they special. See, Renee says, uh-huh.
Well, I can say that here in Nashville, I would not be able to have a tiny home like the one we have in Monteagle because it is considered a mobile home and they don't allow those in Nashville, which is really
They don't want mobile homes here either unless you have enough space for it. You have to have at least an acre for a mobile home. They don't want mobile homes here either. And you have to be able to twist it and get it done. You can actually build a pole barn easier than you can get a mobile home in here.
Yeah.
Hey, Steph says there's a developer in Jeffersonville who's doing a container community. They're ones that built Cooper and Kings. Yeah, so that's what, now I'm very familiar with container homes because of Stevie Bear building them down in Austin. They were doing whole developments, and after the hurricane a couple of years ago down there, the city actually came to them and asked them about building container homes for, like Cindy said, they would withstand 300-mile-an-hour winds. That with the hurricane straps, where you wouldn't think they would have such a huge problem with hurricanes, but every now and then they do down there. So that was a big thing. But she was doing container homes, which were not. They were not technically mobile homes, but they were punch out containers. And like these homes, once you got inside of them, you could not tell they were not a stick built home. You could not tell at all.
Yeah, one thing I would say is, if you want to do some research into it, I found some pretty good information just by Googling, tiny homes. And then I would go to the different sites and, I would find one close to me and maybe reach out to the person who, whose business that is. And if they can't help you directly, they might know someone to hook you up with so you can network. And, that's, again, just get to work and do some research. I can't speak to Kentucky, but I dare say that there's a way to find someone if you want to find someone to build you a tiny home.
So Steph is asking if there's still mobile homes if they're on a permanent foundation. I would say I don't think so, because you're saying yes. Okay, so like it
depends on who's asking the question, because that makes a difference. If for tax purposes, if it's on a permanent foundation, then it's a house for PVA purposes. If for loaning purposes, it is a manufactured house, and that's a different loan to value ratio that they'll give you.
So Somebody asked, what's the difference in mobile homes and manufactured housing? Same.
They view them the same as for financing.
Yeah. Well, see, now when Stevie was, they were having to get building permits. So when she was building container homes in Austin, they were getting building permits. So it was a whole different thing apparently in Austin. Because that was one of the big deals for her, was that she said it could take 7 to 9 months to get the basic building permits in Austin, because Austin is special and they have different rules too.
I would surmise you'd run into that in Jefferson County because they want their pound of flesh.
It's the same in Nashville. It's a nightmare to get a building permit. That's why, you know, if I was ever going to do a tiny home or anything like that on my own, I'm just, as a rule, I'm looking outside of Davidson County, just because of the restrictions and the regulations and the red tape and the delays that we have here. It really is awful.
Well, it seems to me like the most people that I know that are having success with this, they are doing them in a little bit more rural areas, maybe vacation properties and things like that. And I think when Stevie was talking about doing it, they were not in the city limits of Austin, I don't think. Although one of the reasons she was having so much trouble with permits was in some cases they were, and some of those were up to 1,800 square feet though. They were big. The thing that I found confusing about doing punch out container homes was that they were more per square foot, or at least as much as a stick-built home. So to me, that was mind-boggling. That the thought of living in a completely tin container, from an electrical standpoint, I could just see the whole thing getting electrocuted in that darn thing. It totally freaked me out. So anybody else, did I miss any questions? If I've missed your question, I don't think I did, but if I did miss a question, or if you thought of another one, you can type it in here. This has been very informative. So I think one question I had for you is, do you see yourself doing more tiny homes? Are you going to do a wait and see?
I do plan as soon as our lake home gets finished and it gets up and running and on the rental program, and hopefully paying for itself and with a little cash flow, then I'm going to recoup all that money back out of that house and use it to pay for the construction of the second tiny home.
So your lake home, is it a full-size house or a smaller?
It is 2,700 square feet, yeah.
Okay. That's where you need to move.
That's where I want to move. No bones about it.
So, okay. Well, guys,
I
don't
have a
see.
question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't write it down. On what basis is Davidson or Davidson County or Germantown trying to tell you as a property owner what you can and cannot do with your property, especially if you are an owner occupant of your property?
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, that Constitution, I'm like mind blown.
We are kind of almost ready to take to the streets
I've seen Nashville
between
stuff.
the 34% property tax hike that our mayor slammed through without a whole lot of discussion, and now this, you know, when they should be, okay, no, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. I'm not going to go down.
I'm from Tennessee and my sister still lives there and my parents live in Clarksville, so I already know, honey, I'm with you.
And I have no response. I have no idea why they would think that they have a right to tell a private property owner whose vacation rental is in their home.
Right. It's one thing if it's a rental property, but if I live here, this is my house. You can go kick rocks. I can have anybody say here I want to.
Not in Germantown if they have their way.
Well,
that's why we're making our voices heard.
There is a I don't know if you know, but there is an attorney. I'm with EXP, and there's an attorney that basically has them sign when they sign the rental agreement, they sign a piece of paper that says that they are a 1% owner in the property while they are staying there. So therefore they are now owner occupiers, not renters, and as soon as they leave, they go. I haven't talked to him in depth because I'd have a cringe about that. Now you guys are a title theory, lien theory state. No, we're a lien theory. You're a title theory state. So you'd be easier, but making sure that they leave, because when you start having tenants at sufferance, then I would worry about that piece of paper signed.
We did not go down that road because I honestly never thought this would happen. I thought that we had the golden ticket because we're owner occupied.
Right.
Here we are. And to be honest, it hasn't happened yet, but they're talking about it. I mean, I think that ordinance is on like the second reading. So it could happen. And it's easy to say, well, that's over in Germantown. But if they'll do it in Germantown,
it'll pass.
Yeah, they'll do it anywhere. So we're just.
Oh, no, they're trying to make Section 8 a protected class here. They're trying to make felons a protected class in Louisville. And this is right before COVID shut everything down. It was on the docket to be talked about, and everything got shut down. We're like, yes. But it still could come back very easily.
Well, that's where, again, it's just really important to always be researching, always, as best you can, be aware of current affairs and what's going on. And having the ability to see things coming is incredibly valuable. If I can see it coming, I can plan to pivot away from it. I can plan to do something else. So, I'm already hearing talk here over this whole issue that, the class action lawsuits are coming. It's just a matter of, if and when, I mean, not if, but when. So,
I agree.
Yeah, we're just listening to all of that, and we'll see. We'll react if and when we need to.
So Cindy, we need to drop a link to your property. You all really need to see this property. It is so beautiful.
I've got these links right here. I can drop them into the chat.
Sure, put them in there. And for anybody that doesn't know how to save the chat, if you'll look down at the bottom, there's a box that says everyone, and then there's a file, and then right next to it is 3 dots. If you click on the 3 dots, when you're done, it should say, yes, it'll say save chat. So that's how you save the chat when we're done. We'll just give you a minute to do it. But yeah, so that would make me very sick. And I know Cindy had that booked out. She did a lot of bridal parties and things like that. It's I put those in there. It was the Chateau Monroe link. I don't think I put it.
You want Chateau Monroe?
Yeah, Chateau Monroe.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think I put those. I think I've got all those in the thing. But,
okay. Well, there you have them again. Let me pull up.
No, that's fine. People can just pull them out of the chat. But that whole thing about not being able to rent that. I mean, first you're hit with COVID, and
to be truthful, okay, there's Chateau Monroe. Is that what you were looking for?
Yes. Yes. Okay.
To be truthful, our 2020 started on March the 3rd when we got hit with the tornado.
Yes,
so
I remember.
Initially shut us down. We didn't have severe damage, but we had a 2x4, like a 15-foot 2x4. It looked like a javelin somebody had speared our roof with. So we had some roof damage. We had to get a new roof. We had some framing issues and things like that. And because of all that, we were shut down. And there was really no end in sight. And then COVID hit. And it's just been kind of interesting ever since then.
Well,
right?
and that's why it's so important to learn how to pivot.
Yeah.
I would say it's when I talk about lead generation, about you should always have multiple ways to get deals. Don't ever put all your eggs in one basket. And what Cindy said tonight, there are a couple of things I've been preaching forever, and that is Tamara would talk to a brick wall. You probably figured that out. So, but we, I'm always.
Hey, but I get it to talk back, okay?
Well, that's true. So, but we talk a lot about networking. Networking is the most underrated form of lead generation and building your brand. Oh my gosh. So every time you walk in the room, and this is what I want you to remember, Marketing is how you get leads, and that's everything you do to get leads. But branding is why they choose you. That's why they choose me over Karen or Karen over Mary or however it goes. So your brand is everything you say and do. So be aware of that when you're networking. Be yourself. Tamara's always unapologetically herself. And Cindy's always herself, because at the end of the day, everybody else is already taken. So you can only be yourself. But just be yourself, and the people that you're meant to attract when you're networking will naturally be attracted to you. So, but you should always remember that, because at the end of the day, we're in the business that involves houses. So we can all do pretty much the same thing. It might be a difference of our offer, or maybe we offer to do something else for them. But at the end of the day, you have to find a way to differentiate yourself, or you will not survive in this business. You just won't.
Yeah. Amen. And the importance of being yourself. I mean, if I try to act or copy somebody, people see that through that pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So we really don't have a choice. I think my goal, and I'm sure it's yours too, is just to be the best version of myself that I can be.
Yep. We can't turn back the clock and be 30 years younger. So we're pretty screwed on that one. Anybody else have any final questions? I got to tell you, Renee, I'm so glad you're off on the side there. That mask is totally freaking me out, girl. I can't hardly look at that. It's awful. So, well, Cindy, thank you so much for coming on the show, to the meeting tonight. You can tell I'm in podcast mode. Thanks for coming to the meeting. We so much appreciate it. And it'll be fun to catch up and find out 6 months, 9 months, 12 months from now, how much more pivoting you've done, because everybody has got to pivot. If you haven't figured that out, you need to figure that out pretty quickly. So what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
You can reach me by email at cindymaxsonre@gmail.com. Let me spell that. It's CINDYMAXSONRE for real estate @gmail.com. Do you want me to put it in the chat?
Sure. And then people can download the chat.
Yeah, I'll just put my email and my phone number in there. So yeah, it's
Cindy, what part of Nashville are you in?
Technically we're in a neighborhood called Buena Vista, but we're very close to Germantown. My husband and I walk over there almost every day, and it takes us, 10 minutes to get across Rosa Parks. We're close to Bicentennial Mall, the farmers market. We walk there all the time. So
okay, I know where that. I know where Bicentennial Mall is.
Yeah, we're close to downtown. We used to be able to. We had this lovely downtown skyline view, and then they started building, and then it went away. So
you didn't buy the air rights?
No, we didn't. They're not doing that. So we used to be able to see the Capitol building, but no.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Now, Lauren says she liked your mask, Renee. Renee, it's freaky.
We miss you, Lauren.
Yeah, Lauren, I wish you would
Steph, is that one of those naked cats? Oh, good Lord, those things are weird. My girlfriend's got them too.
Who has a naked cat?
Stephanie.
Oh, I know.
They're naked mole rats is what they are.
I've seen those.
Okay, guys. Lauren, we always want to see you, so you can turn your camera on. Okay. Well, Karen, did you have anything else to add, and you want to pop on here, and you got anything?
No, I would just like to say thank you, Cindy, for coming. We appreciate it. And it was nice to meet you.
It was absolutely my pleasure. If there's ever any way I can help any of you guys, reach out anytime. And it's good to virtually meet all of you, even and especially the masked one.
Yeah.
Renee.
There you go.
Yeah,
Renee is quiet. That's weird for Renee.
yeah, there must be something wrong with Renee because she's never quiet.
Nuh-uh. She's as bad as me, if not worse.
Well, I don't know, Tamara. I don't know about that. Okay, guys. Well, I think that's it for tonight. And thanks for coming out. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Cindy. Nice to meet you.